Hello everyone, it's Miss Darling in the studio. Welcome and happy to see you. For those of you who are new, I am the mother of Swoop, a documentary commentator on YouTube, and she gave me the nickname of Miss Darling, so that's why I go by that name. And so we're here to have a lot of fun doing things that we enjoy doing, focusing mostly on different aspects of being in the junk journal business or the art journal business. I do more art journals than what people might classify as a typical junk journal, although I've done those in the past. But anyway, I'm here to share with you on a wide variety of topics, and hopefully you'll find today's topic interesting and helpful to you. And what you see before you are actually prescription drug bottles that my husband and I emptied out. We both have to take medication to help us in our health challenges. And so as we've emptied them over the years, instead of throwing them away like most people do, I give them a new life. I decorate them and use them for storage for different parts of my business. To give you an example, let's take this one. This is one of the larger ones, and I've been getting more large containers from the pharmacy lately, and so that makes me happy because I like the large ones. And so I store some of my inventory in the way of pearls. So whatever I happen to have on hand, and I had quite a few pearl covered beads and little dangles and stuff left over from when I was in the jewelry business. I never threw anything away, and so I sometimes will use some of this in my journal making, for decoration of various things I'm making. And so I, of course, as you collect supplies, you have to store them some way, somehow. And so rather than always having to go buy something to use as storage, why not just recycle something that normally would just fill up the trash bin? So that's what I've done. Swoop recently redecorated my bedroom for me, and we went into all neutral colors. And so I've been busy taking a lot of the bottles I had collected and hadn't done anything with, and redecorating them to go with the color and style of my new bedroom. So that's why you'll see quite a few of this type. Sometimes, well, here we have the same color scheme, but we have a different style. And this was just me using up various pieces of paper, a lot of rice paper, some labels that I have on hand, keeping the color scheme the same, but changing it up a bit. And the tops have all been painted. I'll show you what one of the containers looks like before I decorate it. And so here's an example. This is how most of them come. I've of course torn off the label that was on it, but they usually come with this blue top that doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't in fact, I don't think I've ever used blue as a decorating color in my home. So, of course, that has to go. And here's a little container that I don't remember now what was in it at the time, but of course what had been in it is all been taken out and put somewhere else. And so this came with I think a black, yeah, it's probably a black top. Anyway, I keep some of my favorite rings in here that I often wear when I'm filming my videos. And so you see, I can now set this out in somewhere in my bedroom, and you know, it will just blend in with the color scheme and the style of the room, and not draw attention to itself if a thief ever broke in. We had a thief break into our house many years ago, and I lost almost all of my valuable jewelry because I made it very easy for the thief and put it all in my jewelry box. And so it was very easy for him to find. He was probably looking for stuff he could sell to get drugs or who knows what. Anyway, that was very sad. I lost a lot of valuable stuff, and you know, things that I'll never get back, and some of it had an emotional value to it, not just the monetary value. And for instance, I lost a pearl necklace that my mom and dad gave me when I graduated from high school, and that's gone. I lost the engagement ring I had received from my first husband, and I lost a really nice pearl ring, pearl on gold ring that had belonged to my grandmother. And all those people that gave me those gifts, or that I inherited, have all passed on. And so the emotional memory that I have that was attached to certain things that I had in my jewelry box are all gone now forever. Anyway, so I learned don't keep your favorite stuff in the jewelry box, keep it somewhere else. So of course now I've announced to the nation where some of my favorite rings are. Anyway, let's just hope a thief isn't watching my videos. So today, earlier, I had a different sort of medication bottle that, well, this was a bottle of my husband's that had come with those, you know, one-a-day vitamins, and it didn't have a blue top to it. And I thought, great, I finally have a bottle without a blue top. So here, we went from here to here. So I wanted to just jump in and think, okay, I think I've done enough in this type of theme and style and color palette. I'd like to change it up a little bit. So I pulled out some fabric, and oops, these are all covered with paper and paint. Paper and paint, every last one of them. And some are more, you know, might have been a single piece of paper that I wound all the way around and that was it. Or some are more collage style, as you see in this one here. So anyway, I thought those are all paper, let's work with some fabric. So I would have something to show you in fabric. And so there's 3 fabrics here, and you start on the bottom, and I glued down a strip that was actually this wide, and I used a PVA glue because it's more difficult to get fabric to stick to the plastic container. and it takes longer for it to dry, but you know, I think it's a better way to go than using the same type of glue I used on the paper. So anyway, I just put the first one down, which was this wide, and I didn't have to make it that wide, but I hadn't determined yet what else I was going to do, and so I did that. And then I came in with this piece here, which was a narrower strip, about 1.25 inches wide. And so then, when those of you who know sewing, unless you're working with bias tape, you're going to have to do some clipping when you're working with a curve. And so as I laid this down, I glued it down here, and then I came back and clipped it ever so often so that I could push the top part in and have it lay reasonably flat. And then I added the third strip. And if you'll notice, let me show you this up close. The edges are all frayed, and I love frayed edges. And so I thought it turned out nicely. I'm not going to try to do anything with the top because it's got this kind of an embossing on the top. I'm not going to try to get anything to adhere to that, and I don't feel like painting it. The white top works for me, and it's a nice big bottle, and so I'll be able to store you know, something quite a bit in there. So, okay, having done that, let's take a look at this and see what we want to do with it. So I went ahead and pre-selected some, I'm going to work with fabric again, and I pre-selected some fabrics to audition for this. I've got some chunky lace trim here that's been heavily coffee dyed. I've got some lace here that's a little more, you know, feels a little bit more on the rugged side. I've got, you know, just a piece of torn fabric here. Here's another lace. This one is a little bit softer, more feminine. We'll see about using that. I thought this time around I would like to incorporate some things with letters and numbers. So I found I had this 3 that I had stamped on some coffee dyed fabric. This one says believe and enjoy. So we'll see if we can find a place for 1 or 2 of those. Here's some other lace, nicely coffee dyed. I love how this came out. I love that this one end. This, I think, is a strip of muslin that I coffee dyed, and this was the raised end that kind of stuck up out of the dye, and of course that part always gets darker, and I like how the natural color was left. So I'm going to try and maybe glue this somewhere where that will be on the front, and so we'll see. And then I have this large lace piece here that is also coffee dyed. Anyway, I love these colors, and I think even though the style will be quite different from that grouping, that they will still, you know, be able to be used in the same area if I decide to use it as a decorative item as opposed to just storage for some of my supplies. So, okay, I think I'm going to pause the video for a second and get out my favorite dark brown paint so I can paint this. It takes usually a couple of coats because of the glossy plastic, and so that'll take time to dry, and so that can be drying while we're working on the main part of the bottle. So I'll be right back. Okay, got out my little palette here. I'm going to throw a little bit of water down so I can mix. This is acrylic paint. This is Atelier Brown Black. And it's a beautiful brown. Probably put out more than I need, but okay, what brush? I think we'll use this one. Feel free to craft along with me. Okay, I'm going to pretty good coverage. So I'm going to wash my brush out and set this off to dry, and we'll come back to it when it's ready for a second coat. Alright. Okay. Now on to this. Move some of this out of the way. What do we want to start with? I think I'll move all of these off my surface here too. I feel like maybe I want to start with something plain and a little bit thick on the bottom. So I need to put some more PVA glue in my little plastic dish, or foam, I guess it's. And put a little bit of this in there. Okay. So I'm just gonna, I like using these little foam applicators. I buy them in bulk at Walmart. They're so cheap, and then you just throw them away. Beats wasting a expensive paintbrush to do something like this. Okay, I think I like this side best. I'm going to start, make the back here where some of the label didn't totally come off. So I always pick the worst spot, if there is one, to be the back. Not that it's going to show because I'm using some very opaque, heavier fabric here. So I'm going to tear it. I should have done this before I glued it on. Hopefully it won't be hard to tear. It wasn't too bad. So you always, especially with fabric, you always want to overlap in the back. That will help seal it, and so it doesn't, you know, start falling apart on you somewhere. It'll help you get enough tension there all the way around to make sure that's gonna stay. Alright, so I'm doing the bottom first because since I like working with a little bit of fringe, I like the upper pieces to come over the bottom and so on. So we'll probably have like maybe 3 layers here of whatever we put on. And I'm going to save this. Maybe that will, gee, I could actually do this in 2 layers. I could actually do that. Okay, so let's see. The reason I think I'll use this whole piece is because it is so opaque. I don't want that orange color seeping through, which it would do if I used the lace straight on the bottle. You know, that color would seep through. It might, you know, it might look okay, but I don't think I want to deal with that. So here's the back. So I want, in this particular case, I want ooh, I want this to be my front. So I'm going to start here. Which is slightly different than the bottom piece. And let's see how far that's going to overlap. Not very far, but I want to make sure that I get glue down on top of the bottom piece. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be the front. Push that up underneath that kind of locking mechanism. And now I just need to get glue down where the overlap will take place. You see how easy this is. You know, just, it's the kind of craft that's so wonderful to do in your leisure time. You know, you don't have to work quickly. And it's a great way to use up, you know, scraps that you have on hand for one reason or another. Alright, so there's my front. And I think that Maybe I like that going over on the bottom, or this isn't long enough. So at this point I have to decide, do I want to do an all-out collage style on this, or, you know, stick with the geometric. See, this isn't long enough to go all the way around. So, but I really like this part here where it's really dark on top. But maybe I don't want to ruin that just for that. So maybe we'll kind of look at laying some light gauze-like lace in here. Pull it around more. I'm going to just try and lay things on top temporarily to see if I like something. I'm not feeling it. What do you think? It doesn't matter how long it takes you to arrive at something that's pleasing to you. And so, you know, take the time. You want to be happy and proud of what you do. I know there are times when I've just sort of slapped something down and was done with it. Wasn't that happy with it, but at least it was done. And then I only wound up being embarrassed for anyone to see it. So it doesn't pay to rush ahead and, you know, do something, you know, stay with it. Even if you have to come back later, another day, another week, another month, you know, come back and work on it with fresh eyes and keep doing that until you're satisfied, until you're proud of what you've made. It doesn't matter how long it took to get there. The important thing is to get to the place where you're happy. Otherwise, why do it at all? Okay, so I'm going to set this aside to dry, and let's see how the top is coming along. Okay, it's nice and dry. That's what's nice about acrylic paint, is that it dries quickly. And I got really good coverage, but I'm going to give it a second coat. Oh, before I do that, let's just kind of get a feel for how this is all going to look in the end. And so that's how it's going to come together. Okay. Do I want to paint that sticking out there? I don't know yet. So I'll have to think about that. I've never painted any of the others. Ew. This is pulling up some of that underpainting. I used too much water on this second coat. Now, it's up to you after your paint is all dry whether you want to seal it with, you know, like an acrylic varnish of some kind, because there was nothing on that plastic that was that the paint was going to grab onto. It's really a smooth surface. So if you're going to be opening and closing it a lot to get at whatever you store inside of it, then I would suggest you seal the top with maybe polyacrylic, something Mod Podge, like a matte Mod Podge, just to, you know, keep that from hopefully peeling off on you over time. And so that's what we have. I hope you found this an enjoyable process, and maybe, you know, it doesn't have to be prescription bottles. It can be anything that you store. I mean, I've done cardboard boxes and plastic boxes and all kinds of things to create storage for myself that is artistic. It's not, you know, just some commercial thing that I happen to have. I've tried to make them look and feel artistic and that they belong in an art studio. So I just pass that on to you. And once again, I thank you for being here and sticking through me through the whole video. I do appreciate that, and I hope I've inspired you to recycle things that can be useful to your business, especially. Or if you're not doing it as a business, then your hobby. And, you know, create your own storage that's unique. It'll be fun, it'll be satisfying, and very, very one of a kind. So, with that said, thanks for being here. Be sure and like and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think and feel, and leave suggestions, ask questions, whatever. I do try to get back to everyone that leaves a comment and respond to you. And so, with that said, this is Miss Darling calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.